Sports lovers, welcome to Global Sports from a Caribbean perspective. Ultimate things for all things sports. The best games, the best teams, the best players, the best takes, all from a Caribbean's perspective. I'm your host Shabba and I'm here today with
Dops.
and we continue turning our passion into purpose. And as always, we have a packed show for you today. Kick things off by taking a trip back this day in sporting history. Then we'll break down all the key talking points from Europe's top 5 leagues and this midweek. From there, we'll touch on any other topics, including the T20 World Cup, before wrapping things up by giving credit in our Man of the Match segment. So buckle up, settle in, and let's get into it. Let's start by taking things back in this day in sporting history. Today is February the 12th. And on this day in 2023, Bajan relative native Rihanna performed at the halftime show for the Super Bowl in her first live performance in 6 years in Glendale, Arizona. So, major moment for someone from the Caribbean performing at the Super Bowl. First time, especially for a female. So, big up to Rihanna. And in the spirit of the Super Bowl as well, congrats to the Seattle Super Bowl, the Seattle Seahawks for winning the Super Bowl, defeating the New England Patriots 29-13. Kenneth Walker was named Super Bowl MVP, and this was Seattle's second win in the big game. Any thoughts on that before we move on?
Oh yeah, let's big up Seattle. Really comprehensive victory, really and truly. Late in the game, the Patriots, started to put points on the board, but you could really say that for the most part, especially in the first half, they were really pegged back and hung down by Seattle Seahawks. So it's really good to see. Really good to see. It was a really good game, and yeah, congratulations to the Seahawks again.
Not much to add. Seattle were the better team. Well deserved victory. Congrats to them. Also on this day, the legendary Bill Russell, the man with the most rings in NBA history, was born. It's also a posthumous this day in history because he passed away in 2022. So rest in peace to the great Bill Russell, who was born on this day as well. So that was this day in sporting history. But right now, let's switch gears and head to Europe's top 5 leagues, beginning with the Premier League, where there were games over the weekend and in the midweek. So we'll start with the weekend games and we'll begin with Arsenal. Victor Gyökeres scored twice to help Arsenal cruise to a 3-0 win over Sunderland and open up a 9-point lead at the top of the Premier League table. With Man City not playing until Sunday and Villa drawing with Bournemouth, the Gunners took the chance to gain more breathing space at the summit. A stunner from Martin Zubimendi and a brace from Gyökeres secured the 3 points for the Gunners against the valiant visitors. Arsenal ended the day at least 9 points clear at the top of the Premier League for the first time since their final day of 2003-04 when they won the campaign and was ahead by 11 points. So a comfortable victory on the scoreboard, but not necessarily as it played out because Sunderland were very resilient. The score was 0 at halftime. Arsenal just enough.
Yeah, doing just enough. Playing against Sutherland, especially how high they are flying in the league, you'd expect a tough game. The floodgates kind of opened after they scored that first goal, but credit to Sunderland for giving them a rub. It wasn't an easy game as much as the scoreline would suggest, being a 3-0. But yeah, 3-0, 3 points. Good job for Arsenal.
Yeah, we move on to Arsenal's main title contender, Man City, who won at Anfield and they did double over Liverpool for the first time since 1936-37. Literally. So City did the double over Liverpool for the first time since 1936-37. Erling Haaland's first goal at Anfield secured a 2-1 victory in a thrilling comeback for Man City to boost their Premier League title hopes. Arsenal had opened up a 9-point lead, as we mentioned, but City cut that down to 6 in a frantic finale at Anfield. Dominic Soboslai's stunner of a free kick left Donnarumma rooted to the line, but Liverpool's lead was overturned by Haaland. The Norwegian headed down for Bernardo Silva to equalise and stepped up in the 93rd minute to score a penalty to give City all 3 points. The Liverpool have now lost a Premier League game at Anfield, in which they scored the first goal for the first time since April 2017, which was a 2-1 defeat to Crystal Palace, ending a run of 109 games unbeaten in such scenarios. So, City showing a lot of mettle to come back at Anfield, a place where they've not had a lot of success over the past years, especially under Pep. Haaland scoring for the first time at Anfield as well. City showing some true mettle.
Yeah, and it's required really and truly, especially at the business end of the season, you could say, with everything that's going on around them. Pep would be happy, of course. Arsenal need to keep their foot on the gas because it was really good to see from City that they didn't let the game go. I mean, as much as it was a penalty to get the 3 points, it didn't let the game go. You could see that they wanted it more, especially in the dying minutes of the game. So yeah, credit to them and keep going. This is the kind of things we want to see going on to the end of the season.
Yeah, I really like the fact that City and Haaland especially quieted some of the talks surrounding him in big games and really stepped up and showed his true quality in that game. So credit to Haaland and credit to City for keeping the title race alive. Move on to Wolves 1, Chelsea 3. Cole Palmer scored a hat trick within 25 minutes as Chelsea defeated Wolves 3 goals to 1 at Molineux. The Blues have now won their first 4 league games under Liam Rosenior, though they had some help from generous Wolves defending as they got 2 soft penalties, right? Palmer has now scored 3 first half hat tricks in the Premier League, becoming the first player in league history to do so, making a return to form and good for his and his team prospects going forward.
You're absolutely 2 penalties in that hat trick. You have to score them as much as they seem to be easy. You have to score them. So credit to Palmer, as you said. Schoolboy defending really and truly, it was unbelievable to see. Um, Me watching as a fan, I could imagine how fuming the coach was on the sideline. So yeah, it was really a gift from Wolves and would go into Chelsea for just taking it up.
Yeah, comfortable win, not much to add. Last place team in the league. Soft penalties, both won by Joe Pedro, both calmly slotted home by Cole Palmer, and yeah, he looks to be back in form as we'll speak about later. Moving on to Manchester United, who faced Tottenham at home at Old Trafford and maintained their perfect record since Michael Carrick's return as caretaker manager. One of the signings of the summer, Brian Mbeumo, and the on-fire Bruno Fernandes, who finished exportly, got United the points comfortably. Fernandes' goal saw him reach 200 goal involvements for United in all competitions, 104 goals and 96 assists in just 314 games for the club. Only Wayne Rooney has needed fewer matches to reach that mark for United in the Premier League era. So think of all the great players that would have played for United over that era, and only Wayne Rooney has had 200 goal involvements quicker for the club. So credit to Bruno. United have also now won 4 consecutive league games for the first time since doing so under Eric Ten Hag in February of 2024. So 2 years since United have won 4 league games on the trot. Their current 8 match unbeaten run, 5 wins and 3 draws, meanwhile, is their longest streak since 2022 under Ralph Rangnick.
Hmm.
So Spurs, meanwhile, though, have won only 2 of their last 17 league games. That's crazy. And despite their great Champions League form, Thomas Frank's job is surely under pressure, and we'll come to that later. So, another comfortable win for United. Christian Romero was also sent off in that game, which is his second or third red card for the season, and he's banned for 4 games, and that's their club captain. So, turmoil for Tottenham, but madness for Manchester United.
Yeah. Speaking on sports, it's crazy to see that they are in this position really and truly. Hardly really putting up a fight in games. Not really threatening, and the captain going off with a silly red card.
Silly.
Doesn't help at all. It makes it worse, absolutely. So Spurs would have to work things out. Of course, and we'll get to that later with the boardroom and so with the manager and so forth. But of course, things need to change on the field, especially in the Premier League. Manchester United have been flying surgical, especially on the counter attack. Brilliant recently on set pieces. Think they probably have around the second most set piece goals in the Premier League after Arsenal, of course. So they've been getting goals from all parts of the field, all ways, set pieces and open play. So it's really good to see them clicking. And a clean sheet is just a cherry on top. So credit to Carrick and credit to the boss. shaping things up and looking so well.
Ever since Caracas returned to the club, as I mentioned, for me, he's basically put a marker to Ruben Amorim's time at the club, surely showing that the team's best shape was always with a back four and to construct it from there with Casemiro and Kobe Mino with Bruno at the tip. So credit to Carrick for simplifying things and having things working. And long may it continue for United fans as for Spurs. And like I said, we'll get to them later. It's a extreme contrast to their Champions League form, which saw them finish in the top eight, and they're basically fighting for relegation in Premier League. So it's a crazy flip flop and icy hot situation there that's going on at the Tottenham Hotspur camp. So those were the main results from the weekend. Just gonna run through the other results. Leeds defeated Nottingham Forest 3 goals to 1. Bournemouth and Aston Villa drew one apiece. A peach of a goal in that from Morgan Rogers, and also another goal in that from Bournemouth's new signing Ryan, who's made a great impact since joining the Premier League. West Ham defeated Burnley 2 goals to 0. Everton defeated Fulham 2 goals to 1. Brentford defeated Newcastle 3 goals to 2 in a thriller. And the Crystal Palace defeated Brighton 1 goal to 0, thanks to Ismail Assar. Now let's head to this midweek's fixtures where things were very interesting. Arsenal took on Brentford at the GTEC Stadium and dropped points in the title race. Both goals were scored as a result of long throws, Nani Madueke scoring from a header, which was cancelled out by Keane Lewis Potter scoring from a header as well from a long throw. So a point lost, 2 points lost for Arsenal in the title race, and their lead is now cut down to just 4 points. Um, they only had one shot on target after the goal that they scored. Only two shots on target in total for the entire 90 minutes. So something is definitely wrong.
Yeah. Um, pressure. Pressure is just getting greater, really. I noticed earlier in the season, even though despite they've they've they had the best away record then, I noticed the away performances were lackluster. Um, without any real bite. Sometimes too cautious. Just sit back and let the game come to them in a sense. And I think for the most part, it has worked out. And in an instance like this, where you went to the GTEC, very tough place to go, set piece export, you could say, rugged guys, with similar profiles to like the likes of Rice and so, who could,
They're up for the fight,
up for
basically.
the fight, could give a good battle in the midfield. So there are players who are basically dogs and would go tooth and nail for the manager, and that is what they exhibited today.
Clearly. I like the point that you mentioned, pressure, because that is definitely what is telling on Arsenal at the moment. City seem to be finding some form and momentum, and that's now only 4 point lead. And it's clearly taking a toll on the Gunners' performances on the pitch, because it's the same squad of players that we've lauded throughout the entire season thus far for their consistency and ability to pull out a win. And the fact that they're struggling us this much, even though, like we mentioned, they had won 3-0 against Sunderland over the weekend, it wasn't their best performance either. So the fact that they went to the GTEC and could only muster two shots on goal in a game where they know they had to win is telling. Their next game will be at Molineux against the last place team, so we'll see how they'll respond. We move over to Man City, who cut Arsenal's lead at the top of the table to 3 points at the time after a 3-0 win against Fulham at the Etihad Stadium. Having rallied from 1-0 down to defeat Liverpool at Anfield on Sunday, Pep's team did not pass the opportunity to pile more pressure on the Gunners, who faced Brentford on Thursday. Goals from Antoine Semenyo, Nico O'Reilly, and Erling Haaland allowed them to breeze past Marco Silva's team. Haaland's strike was his first non-penalty goal in the competition since netting a brace against West Ham on December the 20th, ending his longest drought for City. The Norwegian had 24 non-penalty shots without scoring during that run. City's victory was also their 17th in a row against Fulham in the Premier League, stretching their record for the longest winning run by any team against another team in English league history. So a comfortable win against City's whipping boys, clearly, at the Etihad, and not much else to shout about. Another goal for Antoine Semenyo, who also had an assist for Nico O'Reilly's goal. Alan back on the scoreboard. So City seem to be hitting some stride.
Yeah, for sure. I just want to shout out Nico O'Reilly. Seems to be the utility player for Pep. Seems to be the favorite right now, undroppable. Only really getting dropped to rest, but seems to be keeping whoever out of the team when wherever he plays. If he plays left back, ain't no we can't get in. So Pep seemed to love him. He seemed to be a brilliant player, changing the wings, tenacious, up and down. So he's a bit of a gem, and just want to just shout him out. He got his goal, very young. Hopefully, he could make the England team in the summer.
Yeah. Shout out to Nico O'Reilly, who's having a great season, and shout out to Antoine Semenyo as well, who's made a great impact since signing from Bournemouth in the January transfer window. So Man City are certainly piling the pressure on Gunners at the top of the Premier League title race. Move over to Chelsea 2, Leeds 2. Cole Palmer continued his fine form, otherwise picking up where he left off against Wolves on the weekend with a goal and assist for Joe Pedro in the first half that his team dominated. Palmer, though, was left to a glorious stoppage time opportunity as Chelsea was stunned by Leeds' comeback for a 2-all draw on Tuesday. Nemcha from the penalty spot and Okafor, after some comical defending from Chelsea, secured Leeds' fourth point versus Chelsea this season after beating them at Elland Road. So we just mentioned that Liam Rosenior had a great start to his tenure at Chelsea, but pegged back by Leeds and their tenacious fight.
And the help of some, as you said, comical, which I think best describes it, defending. Chelsea had the game in their hands. They're fighting for a top 4 spot. And I think it was really poor of them. Credit to Leeds, not discrediting them in any way, but credit to Leeds. I think it was really poor from Chelsea to just let the game slip in the way it did, especially the first goal. It was just all over the place. The ball was at the back of the net, scrappy, so it was really poor. And in order to, finish in the top 4, these are not the kind of games you should be dropping points in.
Most definitely. Chelsea had more than enough chances, especially in the first half, to put the game away. And they failed to take their chances. And as I mentioned as well, Cole Palmer had a late chance that was basically a miss from 2 yards or 3 yards out with an empty net in front of him. A miss that you never believe. Something that you wouldn't be able to do if you tried. Basically, if you just allow the ball to hit you, the ball would roll in. So that was an unbelievable miss from Palmer.
He himself was like,
shocked. His expression on the line said it all. So another 2 points dropped from Chelsea, but they maintain their unbeaten run under Rosenior in the Premier League. Move over to the Stadium of Light, where Sunderland lost their first Premier League game of the season at home. Virgil van Dijk's header earned a 1-0 victory, getting them back on track in their push for the top 4 finish in the Premier League. Liverpool suffered a heartbreaking defeat to Man City last time out, but have now moved within 3 points of the Champions League places. Captain Virgil van Dijk got the decisive goal in the 61st minute, heading home from a Mohamed Salah in-swinging corner to end Sunderland's unbeaten record at home, as I mentioned. Sunderland have lost their first home match across all competitions since May of 2025, putting a run of 14 matches to end. But it should not come as a surprise, as Liverpool are now unbeaten in their last 9 league away games against promoted sides, with their first defeat against such opposition coming against Bournemouth in March of 2023. It was a big moment as well for Van Dijk, who became Liverpool's all-time top scorer for a defender, overtaking Sami Hyypiä with 23 goals in the competition. So a grinded out win for Liverpool at the Stadium of Light. Sunderland fight it until the end as they usually do. Lacking a bit of quality in the end. Allison made some great saves, and Virgil van Dijk also had a great game defensively as well as Konate. So shout out to Liverpool for being the first team to beat Sunderland at home this season, and their top four chances have improved massively.
Yeah, credit to them, especially Allison keeping them in the game, or at least keeping the clean sheet and keeping the 3 points alive. And for just holding them off, I thought the game would have ended in a draw. And with the heroics of considering the heroics of Allison, and yeah, Virgil van Dijk headed the 3 points home, so it was a good win for them, especially losing the game against City.
Yeah, not much else to add. We know what we're gonna get from Sunderland at home, and Liverpool went there and put on their boxing gloves and gave it their best shot and outdid Sunderland basically from their own game, scoring from a corner. So shout out to Liverpool, and they would look to maintain that consistency going forward. Move over to West Ham 1, Man United 1. Benjamin Sesko's 96-minute equalizer broke West Ham resolve at the end as Manchester United salvaged a dramatic one-all draw at the London Stadium. Thomas Soucek had opened the scoring after turning home a Jared Bowen cross. That goal for Thomas Soucek is now his 39th, becoming the outright leading Czech Republic player in the Premier League history, overtaking Patrick Berger. But United summer signing has come up trumps again late on after his late winner against Fulham. So another clutch goal for Sesko, saving the point for United at the London Stadium. The game wasn't that much to shout about in terms of entertainment. Bruno had a chance that was ruled out for offside. Not much else goal action that I can remember off the top of my head, but United showing fighting spirit.
Yeah, fighting spirit for sure. The game was fairly dominated by West Ham for the large part. And yeah, they got the goal that they needed. As they've shown us in the last 3 or 4 weeks, they can come back. They can fight and they can get at least a point. And credit to them.
Yeah, much credit to them. We move over to Spurs 1, Newcastle 2, and the main reason we're here is to talk about Thomas Frank's departure. Spurs have now gone 8 Premier League games without victory. That's 4 losses and 4 draws. Their worst run since a 9-match streak between May and October of 2008, which led to the dismissal of Wande Ramos. So we can't be surprised that that was also the fate of Thomas Frank as well. Spurs are currently 16th in the Premier League, winless in their last 8, as I just mentioned, and are a genuine contender for relegation. So just to quickly discuss the melee that's ongoing at Spurs, they've now sacked Thomas Frank, previously sacking Ange Postecoglou, Antonio Conte, Jose Mourinho, Mauricio Pochettino, all who have been there without much success, although Ange Postecoglou would say that he won the Europa League. So it's just a musical chairs effect going on at Tottenham. Not much stability there to be found, despite them being labeled a Big Six club. Like we mentioned, they are doing well in the Champions League, so that is maybe a shining light for them. But overall, their Premier League form, not just this season, but last season when they finished near the relegation zone, is not becoming of a big club, surely.
Yeah, they really can't understand why they're in this position. Especially as we keep saying how well they've been doing in the Champions League. Um, Not too sure if it's down to something to what Arne Slot alluded to, the way how Premier League teams line up. For the large majority, most of them would line up with low blocks and tight lines where there's no real space for midfielders to operate and so that's could be one of the underlying issues, that they can't play through that low block, or they can't create issues. They can't create chances or clear cut goals, or the team morale is just not there for Premier League matches, especially when the captain is going haywire. So yeah, really don't have any definite answers for you where it comes to sports. It could be something even deeper where it comes with the board and how they recruit and the management and so forth, but really don't have any clear answers.
Yeah, and I'm not sure who could come in as a replacement for Thomas Frank and necessarily be, an upgrade, because Thomas Frank came in after a big reputation at Brentford for, bringing them up and providing them stability, keeping them in the Premier League for the past few seasons, having them play not necessarily attractive football, but stable football that would keep them in the Premier League. But since he's left, if we look at it, not to be unfair to Thomas Frank, but Keith Andrews has done an
Much better.
incredible job. If we were to say a much better job than one would have expected. I don't want to say much better than Thomas Frank, but he's having them playing better football. They're competing and they're higher up in the table. So one would wonder Thomas Frank's actual level, and maybe Tottenham is just too big of a level for him. So yeah, we'll see Spurs' next appointment and we'll see what direction it goes from there. So just to wrap up the other Premier League midweek results, Bournemouth defeated Everton 2-1. Aston Villa defeated Brighton 1-0. Forest and Wolves drew 0-0. Meanwhile, Burnley picked up a surprising victory at Selhurst Park against Crystal Palace.
Before we recap, bro, I just want we talk about Nottingham Forest.
Sure, they also sacked their manager.
Let me tell you about karma. You say what goes wrong, let me tell you about. I want them to go down. Personally, I want Nottingham Forest to go down just because of the owner. And I want West Ham to be the club to pull them down. Of course, because it's Forest and West Ham is right there and Forest is right above them. So I want West Ham to be the team, to jump them, leapfrog them. And yeah, they go down at the.
Yeah, West Ham are in form. West Ham are flying at the moment.
And Nuno is the coach at West Ham, so karma.
So yeah, just to recap the table in the Premier League, Arsenal remain top, but are now only 4 points ahead of Man City, who are in second. Aston Villa remain in third on 50 points, 3 points behind Man City. United remain in fourth, 45 points, 5 points behind Aston Villa. Chelsea are just behind United and 44 points in fifth, and Liverpool are in sixth on 42 points, 3 points off the top four spot. So that's a wrap for England, and we head straight over to Spain, where the title contenders both won comfortably. Barca moved 4 points clear at the top of the table as Lamine Yamal's second half stunner helped them on their way to a comfortable 3-0 victory over Mallorca. Robert Lewandowski and substitute Marc Bernal were also on target for Barca, who pulled clear of their La Liga rivals Real Madrid ahead of their clash with Valencia that took place on Sunday. The Blaugrana are the second team to have 3 players to score 10 plus goals in Europe's top 5 leagues this season. Ferran Torres has 12, Lamine Yamal and Robert Lewandowski both have 10. After Bayern Munich, who also have Harry Kane, Michael Olise and Luis Diaz in double figures. Barca captain Lewandowski has also now scored 10 goals in La Liga this season, right? Becoming the third player to reach double figures for goals in 15 consecutive seasons in Europe's top 5 leagues in the 21st century, only behind CR7 and Leo Messi, of course. So credit to Lewandowski for maintaining that unbelievable streak of 15 consecutive seasons scoring 10 plus goals in a league campaign. Comfortable victory for Barca at home against Mallorca.
Yeah, easy victory, straightforward, clean sheet. It's another day at the office for Barca and Lamine Yamal. Crazy strike. Different from what we've seen from him is now a caller into the top corner, but this one was with a little more bite and venom. So it was a brilliant performance from him from Barcelona, and it was an easy walkthrough.
Yeah, I just want to touch on Lamine for a second before we move on, and just highlight the fact that the performances that he's putting on every week should not be taken for granted. He has a highlight reel dribble or 2 or 3 or 4 in every game. And now he's adding more end product to his game, which is something that he was criticized for. So the question is often asked, who is the best player in the world at the moment? And everyone would have their own opinion, and I don't think it's a unanimous decision. Some would say Mbappe, some would say Lamine, some would say Rafinha, some would say even Harry Kane, Haaland. But I would say that I enjoy watching Lamine play every week, and he's now adding final product as I mentioned. So he'd have my pick at the moment. That could change, but he's definitely the player I look forward to seeing play the most in the world, if that makes sense. So we'll move on to Real Madrid, who took on Valencia at the Mestalla. Hansi Flick's team had pulled clear of Madrid following their triumph over Mallorca on Saturday, but Los Blancos ensured that they hit back at the Mestalla 24 hours later. Alvaro Carreras and Mbappe found the net as Madrid moved back to within a point of their Clásico rivals. Despite enduring a tumultuous season, Madrid have done well to keep pace with Barca at the league summit, if we're being honest. Mbappe is now enjoying the longest scoring streak in Europe's top five leagues, having netted in his last 6 matches. That is 7 goals. But it was a rare combination that sent Madrid on their way. Indeed, a Madrid defender in Carrera scored after an assist by another defender, Dean Huijsen, in an away match in any competition since Dani Carvajal teed up Nacho in Sevilla in April of 2022. So a unique goal combination there for Madrid, with Carreras ending up scoring from a Dean Huijsen assist. So it proved to be a comfortable victory for Madrid at a troublesome stadium for us over the past years. A great goal from Carreras, another goal for Mbappe. A game where Vinny, neither Rodrigo or Jude Bellingham played, so Mbappe was a bit alone in terms of star quality alongside him, and a comfortable victory with not much to fuss about.
Yeah, it was nothing much to really shout home about. Decent performance from the team. Great to see Carreras on the score sheet. Valencia in trouble though. They experiencing similar things to what we were experiencing a few weeks ago. We were calling it a crisis. They seem to be very close to the drop. They have their white hankies out. They be whistling, and the players are under pressure by the fans and by the board, and then by the results as well. So it's not a good look for Valencia, but as we should do, take advantage of these opportunities that come by, and easy practice match for us.
Yeah, yeah, they're currently 1 point off the relegation zone, so you could see why their fans are not happy, basically. And Valencia is a big club. It would be a shame to see them be relegated to the Segunda, but their performance definitely have to step up if they want to avoid that. Um, move over to Atleti, who were defeated 1 goal to nil against Real Betis. Not much to shout about on it, but I just wanted to mention that Real Betis bounced back from losing 5-0 against Atleti in the Copa del Rey in the midweek to then travel to the Metri, the Wanda, basically, and defeat Simeone's team on their home patch. And that is a credit to Betis. Anthony scored a stunner in that game, right? And also, Julian Alvarez has not scored an open play goal in La Liga since September of last year, and it's been a total of 100 days since he scored a goal of any kind in La Liga. And I just want to touch on that because we've heard about some other players who went on long, goalless streaks, but they haven't been Alvarez hasn't been getting that level of criticism in the media, some would say, compared to those players who would have been on those longer goal droughts. And it's just to show that maybe Julian Alvarez, we would consider him a great player, but he's not necessarily considered in that world class realm, or else he would have been definitely getting criticized more. What's your opinion on that take?
I feel simply because he playing for Atletico Madrid. They fly under the radar in terms of the media coverage. Fighting with the two big dogs, you normally see both papers cover Madrid or Barca. You hardly really see news about Atletico Madrid. So I don't think there's much scrutiny around them just because it's Atletico Madrid. And yeah,
I
I
am
feel like had he been at
a
maybe
big
a
club,
club like Manchester United, not at the same level in terms of how they are playing over the last couple of years.
but club stature.
But club stature. Go to Manchester United, media coverage, And you know what you get when you go to England? Of course, Julian Alvarez would be under the microscope and in the papers every week for not scoring for so long. I just feel like it's
So you think it's because he's playing for Atletico, basically.
yes.
But as a result, does that not make, or do you think that Alvarez deserves the criticism that he's not getting for being on, because he's still a player who we'd see in the media being linked to a team for $100 million, for example, and no sign of any kind of
Yeah,
criticism
I
when
think
it
it's
comes to this.
warranted. Yeah, I think it's warranted, especially after you know, you win the World Cup. You played such a crucial part in that as well. Eyes are on you, but I just feel like
Yeah,
because where
because
he
it's
is,
Atletico. I'm just saying because he was bought for a lot of money, came in with a lot of
mhm.
expectations. Um, it's never really in Atletico's true ambition to be ahead of. When I say true ambition, I mean like they're not really expecting to beat Madrid and Barca and win the league title. But when you make $100 million signing, those are the kind of things that you're expecting. So I'm just saying that we should keep the same energy that we do for other players for Alvarez as well.
Yeah, 100%.
Right, Villarreal meanwhile demolished Espanyol 4-1 to close the gap on Atleti in the top four race and also have a game in hand. So just a recap of the table in Spain. Barca remain 1 point ahead of Madrid, 58 and 57 points. Atleti and Villarreal are tied on 45 points, but Villarreal have a game in hand. So that's a wrap for Spain, and we head over to Italy and the Serie A. In Syria, Inter remain top of the table after smashing Sassuolo 5 goals to 0 away from home. Goals from Bisek, Turam, Lautaro Martinez, Akanji, and Enrique, while Fede Di Marco had 3 assists. Lautaro Martinez has become the joint third all-time leading scorer for Inter with 171. That result keeps Inter on top on 58 points. AC Milan did not play this weekend, however, due to their home stadium hosting the opening ceremony of the Milano Cortina 2026 Winter Olympics on February the 6th. Their fixture versus Como is scheduled for February the 18th. They sit 8 points behind Inter with a game in hand. Defending champions Napoli, meanwhile, won their second straight, edging Genoa 3 goals to 2 in an intense clash that was decided by a 95th minute Rasmus Højlund penalty, who had a brace in that game. They remain 9 points off Inter. The Old Lady were held 2-2 at home to Lazio, which allowed Lazio City rivals Roma, who won 2-0 against Cagliari, to creep up on Juve in the race for a top four spot. So just to recap, Inter remain 8 points ahead of AC Milan, who have a game in hand. Napoli are in third, 9 points behind Inter. Juve and Roma are tied on 46 points in fourth and fifth place, respectively. Any thoughts on the Serie A and the state of play there? Inter remain dominant, smashing Sassuolo 5 goals to 0, as I mentioned. I don't think there's gonna be a race unless they completely collapse. What do you think? Maybe the top four race is a bit more interesting.
Yeah, I think there's something could still happen, especially if Inter still have the likes of any one of these three in the top four, even in the top five. So something could still happen. We know how competitive it is. Just 8 points. Milan with a game in hand could make it 5 points. So I think there's something still there. Would really like for it to go down to the wire. Roma, I was just on my phone checking to see who has the best defensive record in the top five leagues, because it stood out to me here that Roma only conceded 4 goals for the season.
14.
14 goals for the season, sorry. So it's something that we should commend, but you could see where they fall off with the goals, only 29 goals. If they want to finish in the top four, they really need to, find some goals. So just credit to them with the defensive record. Yeah, not much more to say. It's Italy.
That's a great pick out from Roma because I just checked and they have conceded less goals than Arsenal, conceded less goals than us, who've conceded the least goals in Premier League, less goals than Inter, less goals than Bayern. So they seem to have one of the best defensive records in the top five leagues. So that's a great shout. So Just continuing the competitive nature of the Serie A, and we move over quickly to the Bundesliga and Ligue 1. We'll start with the Bundesliga as Bayern bounced back as Luis Diaz scored a superb hat-trick to end a run of 2 league games without winning by hammering 10 men Hoffenheim 5-1. Harry Kane chipped in with a brace of pens to ensure Bayern maintained their 6-point lead after Dortmund had won the day before to cut the lead to just 3 points. Bayern have scored 79 goals in 21 Bundesliga games, the most of any team in the history of the competition at that stage. Meanwhile, Michael Olise has recorded at least 1 assist in 6 consecutive Bundesliga games, the only Bayern player to achieve this since Thomas Muller, who did it in 7 consecutive games. Also, with 16 assists this season, Olise has already surpassed his tally of 15 from last season. So Michael Olise having a great season and Bayern back to winning ways.
Everybody cooking over there, boy.
Everybody cooking. Luis Diaz, Kane, everybody eats.
Everybody cooking, and this just shows the quality between Bayern and the rest. Hoffenheim is currently in third. I know they got a red card, but they're currently in third, and they got smacked 5-0 so on. So it just shows the quality. Dortmund very close behind, but we've seen this story before. We've seen this movie before. We know how it goes. I feel that at the end of the day, it's gonna be Bayern's league. There's not much to say about that, but it's just brilliant to see how they are all, on fine form, fine fettle, and cooking, as we said earlier.
Yeah, shout out to Andre Kramaric, who is someone you had mentioned sometime in one of our previous episodes. No player in the Bundesliga has more goals against Bayern actively than him with 9. So just shout out to the Croatian Kramaric. And we move over quickly to Ligue 1, where PSG and Lens continued their title race in France and both won comfortably on the weekend. Lens getting the better of runs, 3-1 with Alan Saint-Maximin scoring an absolute stunner. So if you get the chance to take a look at Saint-Maximin's goal this weekend against Reims, you should do so because it was a stunning effort. PSG meanwhile thrashed Marseille 5-0 at home thanks to a brace from the Ballon d'Or winner Dembele and a goal each from Kvaratskhelia, who also scored a stunning goal after a good team play. Kangen Lee and a own goal was also scored in that game for Paris to crush Marseille at home. So Lens and PSG maintain their title race and hopefully it continues.
Yeah, hopefully it continues for sure. Lens seem to have some quality. I know a few players there. I think Torvan is there, who used to play for Newcastle. So it seems like they have some experience and some quality in their ranks. And I
Hudson Edward.
hope they could. Hudson Edward, the striker, I hope they could, keep it up. Marseille, on the other hand, their coach Desorbi has been linked with Spurs.
Just got sacked as well.
He just got sacked.
Oh no.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
I'm thinking about Thomas Frank.
Right.
About Thomas Frank.
So Desorbi is linked with Spurs, and can't lie, if you just sacked your manager and the manager you're looking at just got thrashed 5-0, it's not really a good look. We know Desorbi's style is very expansive, very attractive football, but at the same time it's very open. Desorbi leaves Marseille by mutual
I
consent.
knew I saw that news, bro. I knew I saw that news.
So he might be at a London stadium near you.
I knew I saw that news.
Right, but yeah, as I was saying, you know why you get with Desorbi. Attractive football. As we look here, they are only 2 goals behind PSG for the goals scored, but they have conceded the most goals in the top 4. Even before the 5-goal thrashing, they conceded the most goals in the top 4. So you know where you get that with them. Attractive football, real nice transitions of play, real nice counter attack, real nice build up, especially from the back. Pull you in and then really slice your throat with precision pass or something. So beautiful football from Desorbi, but open, leaky football defense. So Spurs, we might see some goals on both ends. Look out for that.
So a warning to Desorbi's potential future clubs or clubs who might be looking to hire him because he's coming with a lot of goals, but as Dopy mentioned, his teams are also leaky. So just to recap the league on table, PSG remain top, 2 points ahead of Lens. on 51 points. Lens on 49 points. Leon in third on 42 points. And Marseille in fourth on 39 points. So that wraps up last weekend's action in the Big Five leagues. We move over quickly to some midweek action that took place in some of the cup competitions in those same Big Five leagues. And we'll start with the Copa del Rey, and we saw the semi-final first legs that took place this week. In the first fixture, Real Sociedad traveled to Athletic Club in a local derby where they defeated Athletic Club 1-0. In the second fixture, though, where Atletico Madrid took on Barcelona at the Wanda, Atletico defeated them 4-0. Prior to this game, Atletico had lost each of their last 4 games on home soil against Barca in all competitions, but Atletico now take a demanding and commanding 4-goal lead into the second leg on March the 3rd. Barca have conceded 4 goals at halftime for only the second time since at least the 2004-05 season. The only other occasion where that happened is when they conceded 8 against Bayern. So, a stunning performance by Atletico Madrid. We obviously have to take some time to speak about it because it's not a result that we expected. So we have to divulge a bit on it. Goals were scored by Atletico's new winter signing, Ademola Lookman, who's having a great impact. Antoine Griezmann, Julian Alvarez, who we spoke about, also broke his duck in that game, and Eric Garcia also conceded an own goal in a horrible performance from the Catalan team.
Yeah, really cut apart. Surprising performance from Atletico. They show this attacking bite all year in the Copa del Rey fixture against Betis. They smashed them 5, but yeah, this was something that we weren't expecting. Even in the second half, after they scored the 4 goals, I was then now open to it. I was like, okay, give me more now. Let me see what you got for me. But then, it seemed like it fizzled out a little. Barca got organized. Barca then got a red card. There was a offside by for a Barca goal.
Kubasi scored, but Lewandowski was offside.
It took about 20 minutes.
Yeah, it seemed like forever. It seemed like forever in real time.
To really get the decision correct. And in the end, it seemed like it was offside. Not too sure if it was the correct decision, but yeah, that took some time. But yeah, really impressive performance from Atletico Madrid.
Yeah, and it's their second impressive performance this season because they defeated us 5-2 at home as well earlier on this season. So to defeat Barca 4-0 at home, keeping a clean sheet against this Barca team is an impressive feat. But I'm gonna be honest with you, I still don't feel like it's over. I really feel like Barca have an opportunity to still make some sort of comeback or some sort of game of it in that second leg. All it takes is one early goal, and we know Atletico have the tendency to crumble, and Barca have the tendency to accumulate goals very quickly.
Rootless.
And when they scored the goal that was ruled out today, in my mind, I was already saying, oh, here we go again. Here we go again. This is going to lead to another one being scored about 10 minutes later, and then Atleti are just going to be on the back foot. So, despite the score being 4-0 in any normal scenario against any normal team, you would consider the tie to be over, but I don't. So, the second leg is 3 weeks away. Who knows what form both teams are going to be in, who's going to be injured, who's going to be fit. So, left to be seen, but Atleti certainly have one foot in the Copa del Rey final at the moment. Moving over to the Coppa Italia, where there was quarterfinal action. Lazio and Como both advanced to the semi-final of the Cup after knocking out Bologna and Napoli respectively. Lazio will face Atalanta, while Como will come up against Inter in two-legged semi-finals. Moving on to the DFB-Pokal quarterfinals, Bayer Leverkusen, Stuttgart, Freiburg, and Bayern advanced to the semi-final of the German Cup. Okay, and that's it for the football side of things, with title races heating up, cup competitions winding down. Plenty still left to play for, but we're switching sports for the moment because while football is busy, cricket is also heating up. We're officially a week into the T20 World Cup over in India and Sri Lanka, so let's give some quick takes on what we've seen thus far. So we'll speak about the most exciting game that took place thus far between South Africa and Afghanistan. Just a quick note: Afghanistan was one of our dark horse, well, my dark horse pick, and they've lost their first two games, so they have a uphill fight on their hand already. But just on that game, perhaps the most thrilling match in tournament history. South Africa defeated Afghanistan on February 11th in a red double super over after both teams had tied at 187. And at the end of that game as well, the Afghanistan who were chasing made it very interesting in the end because it went down to the last few balls and it literally came down to a run out where the guy was trying to get the second run and Rabada had run him out, which led to the fourth super over. Then into the super over where I think Afghanistan, no, South Africa batted first. And then Afghanistan chased it. And then there was a case where it went again. I could only remember the second super over vividly, where then the guys hit three consecutive sixes. And the last ball was a catch. So it was certainly one of the most exciting, some are labeling it as the most exciting T20 tournament game in history. And glad I was alive to see it.
Yeah, it was a real seesaw affair, really and truly. Tristan Stubbs in I think the fourth super over, chasing maybe 17 or
17 to
so
18, yeah.
on the last ball, hit a six to
To send it
take
to
it
the
to the second super
over.
over. So, the thrill was on. And then Gubas looked like he was gonna take the match away from them with three consecutive sixes. And I had all believed that he was gonna smack it out the park again because he did so the last few balls so convincingly from he took it off of half stump, one from middle, and he put it out to all parts of the ground. So it was a really, really mad game, to be very honest. For lack of a better word, mad in terms of how much of a spectacle it was. All forms of the game and show Rabada with the athleticism to take the game to the super over. It was just cricket. That's why we love cricket, and this is what the shorter format brings.
Yeah, if ever there was an advert for the T20 format of the game, this game was it. It had everything. Afghanistan showed incredible skill to chase down that target and, carry it all the way to the end. I just want to highlight South Africa's batsman Brevis. He's also a destructive batsman along with David Miller. So him alongside Stubbs, South Africa have a crazy batting lineup, and not to mention obviously Markram and QDK at the top. So they're gonna take some beating. They're gonna take some beating in this tournament.
And Rabada
And
Jans.
Ngidi, who did a stunning cut and bowled. I couldn't believe it. He's doing what we expect Rabada to do, and Rabada is still there. So if Lungi Ngidi is performing at this level, I won't say there's no stopping them, but they'll be hard to stop. And plus, Marco Jansen is there as well, who can also bat. Their batting lineup is deep, and their bowling lineup is impressive as well. So, game of the tournament, without a doubt. Shout out to South Africa. Commiserations to Afghanistan.
Hard luck, Afghanistan.
Also want to discuss the rise of the minnows as the gap between the associate nations and powerhouses have never looked smaller, right? Nepal almost upset England, coming down to 4 runs in the end. USA pushed India all the way, had India 77 for 6 at one point. But Suyakumar Yadav rescued them with an unbeaten 84. Italy defeated Nepal today, in a historic 10-wicket win. Something that you'll come to later. A pair of brothers, hit an unbeaten 50 each. You know what I'm saying? Set a new World Cup record. And chase 124 in just 12 overs. So the associate nations doing very well.
Yeah, they are. And kudos to them, really and truly, because I thought that these teams would be the beaten sticks of everyone.
Cannon fodder, yeah.
We wouldn't see competitive games. We wouldn't be on the edge of our seats for some of these games. And I've been wrong, honestly speaking. And we have to give credit to the Nepals, the Scotlands, who in some games have been on fire and gave us some brilliant performances. So the you could tell where some of the deficiencies are in terms of just not. I don't think it's the contrast in quality is great. To be very honest, it's just sometimes it's down to concentration, like taking a catch. I really feel like all cricketers could take catches.
True.
And I feel like sometimes it's down to concentration. There's a little a instance, a lack of focus where they might not have taken a catch, and these are the little instances where you lose matches because 4 runs
Yeah, and
was the
four instead,
difference.
yeah.
You get me? So those are the things that these little teams need to tighten up on because they have been doing a really good job in especially bowling, pegging back these bigger teams. The batting, we know not everyone in their lineup. So they would have those star players, but not everyone in their lineup could hit those big sixes. So
True.
they have pinch hitters in the team per se. So I think that's where the fall off is. But when you really look at it in general, they have come a long way.
Yeah, the skill level, like you said, the skill gap, I should say, is definitely narrowing. A lot of more countries are beginning to invest more in cricket. Clearly, the fact that Italy, a football nation, as we know, is now competing in the T20 World Cup, getting a win over a team like Nepal, who would consider cricket to be their only sport or their biggest sport, is definitely something to credit. So shout out to the associate nations. As we mentioned, we might have thought that some of them would have been easy food for the bigger nations, but they're proven to be anything but that. England, as we mentioned, barely defeated Nepal earlier, and they went on and lost in their second game as well. So let's just speak about England's struggles at the moment. They were defeated, by the West Indies in the second game comfortably as well. So the 2024 semi-finalists now find themselves in a position where they have no margin for error the next game against their British rivals, Scotland. So pressure on Harry Brook and company.
Yeah, serious pressure. As we said earlier, these associate nations are not to be taken lightly. And in T20 cricket, especially, anybody could, win on the day. So England really have to go in there all guns blazing with Phil Salt and Harry Brook and Jacob Bettel, who, to be fair to them, well, Harry Brook, to a lesser, not at all. Harry Brook, not at all in the last game, but to Phil Brook, Phil Salt and Bettel
especially.
and Josh Buttle, they played a good hand in the last game. So proper performances from them, and I mean, not discrediting Scotland, but they should be able to put on some proper performances against this team.
I agree. I agree. England should have enough to overcome Scotland and Italy in their next two games and advance to the Super 8 comfortably, I would assume. Moving on to the team who defeated them, though. Two dominating wins thus far against, Scotland and England. We did what we have to. The win against England was very impressive, I'd have to say. Can those wins against those British teams have us dreaming, or are we getting a bit ahead of ourselves? Before you go, I just want to mention that Jason Holland, that run out, was very impressive. The look on his face when he realized that the ball had hit the stumps is one of an angry, determined player and someone who seems to have their eyes on the trophy.
Them sell we out, what them do it for? Yeah,
Tell me, are we getting ahead of ourselves?
I think we could slow our roll a little bit. Kudos to the guys, credit to the guys. That was an impressive performance, especially after where the baton is concerned, where we lost Hope and Brandon King
Wally.
very cheaply. Roston Chase, who I've
Fairly as well.
I have been on his back for the last few series, and he came in, consolidated, built an innings with Hitmeyer to a certain extent. And then we had other players in the middle order who came in and played a part. Sure, in Rutherford especially, who played a magnificent innings, and then we cannot slight Jason Holder and the role that he played. It was a key role in getting to where we wanted to go. He stayed there with Rutherford, and then Rutherford ultimately took us to the end. So it was a really strong batting performance. We would have liked the openers to stay there for a little longer to give us that platform to propel us further. But it was a really strong batting performance. This is what I spoke about in our previous episode when I said when there's slack, other teammates need to pick it up, and the middle order did such when Brandon King and Shea Hope failed at the start. Where the bowling was concerned, now we have to give a huge shout out to Romario Shepherd, who broke the Phil Salt and I think it was the Josh Butler partnership earlier. That wicket was crucial to get the ball rolling. Who knows the kind of rampage Phil Salt would have gone on had it not been for Romario Shepherd. So you have to shout out Romario Shepherd for, starting there, and then Gudakesh Moti in the middle overs, pegging things back. He might have been a little expensive, but all the bowlers, Rust and Chase, played another vital part, getting I think it was Bettel out and another guy. So these spin bowlers coming into the middle overs outside of the power play and pegging back the batters, and scoreboard pressure, run rate pressure, and all that, getting on their backs, to trying to score a little faster. All of that compiled on England, and it just helped us to get the victory. All the catches in the field. It was just a complete performance.
Team
Credit to the
performance.
West Indies, and I hope that we see more of this going forward.
A bowler who you didn't mention is Shamar Joseph, who I just want to touch on, who bowled 4 very clean overs, economy rate of 7.5, and picking up a crucial wicket as well. Oh, of Adil Rashid, which was the last wicket. So he bowled very economically and with great pace. He was, I think, the only paceman there, along with Jason Holder and Romario Shepherd, who aren't, specialist pace bowlers. So shout out to Shamar Joseph, great player. And I hope his run in the T20 team continues, because he's certainly a great asset. Every bowler had an economy below 10, so long may that continue.
Commendable, yes.
Right, and what I'm going to do now is just run over the stat leaders in the T20 World Cup thus far. The most runs is currently held by Tim Seifert, who currently has 154. He also has the highest score of 89 unbeaten against the United Arab Emirates. So Tim Seifert of New Zealand.
But the most wicket is Van Shawarwick. Probably butchered it, but I'll get it next time. Van Shawarwick.
Yeah, so Mr. Shadley from the United States of America currently leads the wicket tally with 8. And Romario Shepherd, as Dopy mentioned, has the best bowling figures of 5 for 20. Just want to shout out some key statistical highlights from today. Ishan Kashan made history, becoming the first Indian wicketkeeper to score a T20 half century, finishing with 61 runs. Hardik Pandya also contributed a 52 and took 2 wickets to earn player of the match as India defeated Zambia today.
Josh Butler became the first ever player in history to score 1,000 runs in World Cup history as a wicket keeper. He also passed Rohit Sharma for the most runs, T20 international runs versus the West Indies, 701. New Zealand openers Tim Seifert and Phil Allen set the world record tournament record for the highest opening partnership of 175. Italy won their first ever World Cup match. They didn't do that. They didn't just win the first World Cup match, but they did it with 2 brothers. And those 2 brothers are the highest scoring brothers, breaking Cameron Akmal and Umar Akmal's record of 96. So 124 is also the first time that 2 brothers made 50 plus scores in the same T20 match. So a lot of things happening in the T20 World Cup. A lot of milestones and records are being shattered.
Yeah, so certainly an exciting start to the T20 World Cup over in India and Sri Lanka. And that wraps up our coverage and our quick takes from there. More exciting games to come. India and Pakistan this weekend. I think New Zealand and South Africa are scheduled to play as well. So exciting games to come this weekend in the T20 World Cup. So let's conclude this episode with our man of the match segment. I think Dopy got, ahead of himself there by basically mentioning his candidates. So I'll just allow him to reiterate who his candidate or candidates are this week.
Justin and Anthony Mosca,
Scar.
the brothers I just mentioned there from Italy. Look like really passionate fellows. Football celebration, kiss the badge and all kind of thing. As I said, Force brothers to score 50 each in the same match. Highest score between brothers in a T20 World Cup match ever, 124. And yeah, why not? Two brothers doing great things, and is the first ever win for the team. So I think all those great things they won, man of the match, men of the match.
Shout out to the Mosca brothers and shout out to Italy for winning their first game. My man of the match this week is Victor Wembanyama, who scored a very quick 40 points. Hardly played in the fourth quarter, scored 25 points in the first quarter, had 37 points at the half against the Lakers, who were undermanned, however. No LeBron, no Luka, no Austin Reeves. However, you could only play who's in front of you. That is now 6 40-point games for Wemby at the age of 22. That is more 40-point games than Tim Duncan, the greatest scorer ever, had for the team, who only had 5. And Wemby is doing it in 1,236 games fewer. So one would determine that if Wemby has a long and healthy career, that he's going to continue having these Wilt Chamberlain type performances. And it wouldn't be a stretch to say that it wouldn't be a surprise if he scores or if he becomes the first person since Wilt Chamberlain to put up triple figures in an NBA match. However, due to the load management, minutes restrictions, the time, anytime a game gets to a blowout situation, your stars are usually rested. That would most likely be unlikely. But shout out to Wemby.
And if you're hitting 25 points in 8 minutes, I mean,
That's what I'm saying. 25 points in 8 minutes, 25 points in a quarter. So certainly 100 is on the cards for him, but it's unlikely, right? But
Yeah,
shout out to
very.
Wemby as my man of the match this week. That concludes the end of this episode of Global Sports from a Caribbean perspective, where we break down the best games, best teams, we have the best players with the best takes on global sports from a Caribbean perspective. I'm your host today, Shabba,
Daps.
and we're signing out Global Sports from a Caribbean perspective. One global.
Global.